I feel like it's really me giving back because even how I came up, I've done internships and mentorships, and I just remember being in that position, just um, being grateful for the opportunity to learn from professionals. I didn't really care how many hours I had to work or what I was doing. I was just very, very appreciative of being in an environment where I could learn film and learn the editing side of it. So me doing mentorships now is one about giving back, and two realizing that it is the starting in terms of expansion.
Sometimes the biggest opportunities in media don't come from waiting for a seat at the table. They come from building your own. What's going on, everyone? It's your girl, Natalie Nadeen, and you're tuned in to Noir in Media, a show where conversations are rooted in media, culture, and the people shaping them on their own terms. With my guests, I explore everything from film and television to music and digital media. Today, I'm sitting down with a filmmaker, director, educator, and entrepreneur who has spent the last 13 years doing exactly that. Whether it's directing hundreds of music videos, documenting Canadian hip hop culture, mentoring emerging creatives, or creating platforms for filmmakers to showcase their work, he's built a career by turning ideas into opportunities, not only for himself, but for others coming up behind him. This is a conversation about creative longevity, independent filmmaking, and what it really takes to build something that lasts in Canada's media landscape. Allow me to introduce Matthew Kelly. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. That's actually probably one of the best, I would say the best introductions anyone's ever given me in terms of an interview or a podcast. Like you nailed everything. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Is it giving 10 out of 10 recommend?
It is given 10 out of 10 journalism skills. Yes, highly recommend. Yeah, pleasure to be on the podcast.
It's an honor to have you. I'm trying to remember how I came across you. And I feel like it was, if not last year, the year before, I came to one of the Street Voices like media courses at the library. And just hearing how passionate you were about filmmaking and doing videos. And I'm like, oh, like this guy seems really interesting.
And then also, I believe we connected through my younger brother, Andre Kelly's film premiere. And I think we were speaking online about photography and video production in terms of that event. So
Yes.
yeah, but I remember at that, I know I saw you, but I think I was on the other side and I didn't get to kind of chop it up with you. But I remember like seeing you there, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. After that, I was able to connect those dots.
See, I always tell people, I'm like, the entertainment industry is a small world. In Canada, it's smaller. And if you are Black in Canada in the entertainment industry, it's literally just a group of people that you will see almost everywhere that you go.
Yes, I paraphrase the exact same thing. I tell exactly like how you said. Canadian industry is small, the film industry even smaller, and then the Black industry even smaller. So yeah, word for word, I tell people that all the time.
Y'all don't know until you're actually in it. You might not see exactly like the same 10 people, but best believe you're going to see at least 5 out of 10.
Yeah. And then on like social media, when you see the mutuals, it's you're almost guaranteed to have some sort of connection with people, in your demographic. I feel like that's one of the reasons why I feel like it's so important to have a great reputation. And I think we were briefly talking about this last time I saw you
Hmm.
2 weeks ago. So yeah, just really having a great reputation because the circles are so small and people talk. So it's very important to present yourself properly. But not only for the sake of keeping your image clean, I naturally want to present myself because I want to appear as a good person that I am. But yeah, so it's really, really important to do that.
Emphasis on as you are. See, let the people know.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
So before we get into anything today, this is your time. Let the people know exactly who you are. What do you do? How to follow you, stay connected. Do you have anything coming up down the pipeline? This is your time.
Yeah. So my name is Matthew Kelly. I started a video production company called M Works in 2013. I've been at it for the last 13 years. Started off doing music videos, got into documentaries, short films as well too. And as of the last 4 years, I've been trailblazing into the film festival industry. So this upcoming September will be my fourth annual film festival, the M Works Film Festival. I invite anyone that's a fan of films, whether you're a major fan or whether you just like cinema, to check that out. That will be this September. I'll also be holding my first annual back to school giveaway barbecue in Mississauga. That's going to be in August. And a few days, or hopefully in the same week of the film festival, I'm looking to do a networking event. So, really, what I would like to do with all of these three events, the barbecue, the film festival, and the networking event, I'd like to composite it all into a festival. So, with this year being my fourth annual film festival, I really want to network and branch it into just a festival. So, it's more than just film with a barbecue and the networking event. But in terms of following, you could follow mworks underscore. That's what I have on most of my platforms. The film festival on Instagram, that's mworks film festival.
I like this whole idea with the festival, though.
Yeah, yeah. So I always like telling the story on how that came to be, but I appreciate that.
We're gonna have to get into that later on. I like how you're trying to combine, and I like to see how people are expanding because people do love a good film, but you also want to tap into other audiences. And I feel like this is a very interesting way because, we love a good barbecue. I'm gonna jump right into the first question. Looking back over a decade in the industry, what first made you fall in love with filmmaking and media? And when did you realize this could become a real career path for you?
I would say the first time I fell in love, I think I fell in love with the editing side before I fell in love with the filming side. So I remember just using a laptop, I would film my own videos. Like I would just make music for fun. I wasn't taking it seriously. But doing the editing part, I had a passion for that. Editing can be very tedious. Not a lot of people are really into that side. But right out the rip, I had a passion for just learning the skills. And yeah, in terms of really falling in love and making it my passion, I feel like just doing it week after week after week, year one, year two, year three, I started to gradually fall in love with it. I've always enjoyed it from the start, but it took me a few years to really see it as a strong, strong passion for me.
I like the fact that you mentioned the editing process. I think whenever we think of filmmaking, we only think about literally the filmmaking, just carrying the camera, recording, we get to be on set, but no one really talks about like the nitty-gritty part of it where you have to really have the patience sitting at this computer, looking at the different softwares, reviewing the footage.
Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely a lot of nitty gritty that's not seen,
Mhm.
from the audience perspective. But yeah, it's all part of the game.
And then looking back at that as well, was that something where, like you said, you just came across it by yourself? Did you ever have any influences or people teaching you about this prior to?
Yeah. One of my good friends, I would watch him film. This is before I even knew how to turn on the camera. I would just watch him do his thing. And eventually, one of my friends gave me his camera and just said, "Hey, just film all my videos. I'll supply you with the equipment." And then that's kind of how I, finally got into it. But even before that is the story of how I was filming with my laptop. I would literally just take my laptop and face it towards whatever I was looking at. So I can't see, there's no monitor because I'm using the webcam on the laptop. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, that was probably 2010. And then I didn't have my own camera until 2013. So yeah,
Wow. You really made do with what you had at the time.
yeah, exactly.
I'm just picturing you just walking around and be like, hello, people. Like, don't worry about me. It's a camera at the end of the day.
Right? Yeah, it was cool. But even how you just said that, I encourage others to make do with what they have too. That's something that I like to preach as of recently.
I think looking at social media, when you see, especially a lot of these YouTubers or influencers or other like filmmakers who kind of promote their work on socials, everyone thinks, okay, I need to always have the latest gear. That's the only way to get good quality. And I feel like that's definitely a big myth that we need to bust at some point.
I agree.
Yeah.
Nowadays, like even when I do my mentorship program, I tell people you don't even need a camera as long as you have a phone that could take videos. You're good.
Absolutely. I think that's something a lot of people need to hear. In 2013, you founded MWorks and it grew into a major platform within Canadian hip hop. What was the vision behind building that platform?
At first, the vision was really to keep up with the people that were in the same space as me, shooting these guerrilla style videos. So whether it be upgrading my camera, upgrading my lenses, having my editing effects and styles on the same level as them, that was the driving force for me at the time. And then as years went on, I started to wanted to do documentary projects and narrative style projects. So As the years went on, I started to gain different goals for myself and what I wanted. And as of the last 4 years, I've really been focused on the film festivals and doing events related to the industry I'm in. So yeah, my goals have changed over the time.
Can you expand more on the guerrilla style music videos? Because that's a term where I don't think I've ever heard before.
Yes. So I guess to clarify what guerrilla style videos means to me, it would really be videos where there's no shot list, there's no storyboard, very little pre-production planning. And a lot of the times we're just going with the environment that we have. So yeah, that I've done a great majority of my early career was within that style. And I feel like that's really been able to shape me to the point where when I go to video shoots and I have all those things that I didn't have in the earlier part of my career, I'm just able to work that much more efficiently because I'm used to these guerrilla style videos.
And so it's kind of just knowing how to pretty much be a chameleon and just adjust to the personalities, the situations, the environment. Like everything's just on the fly. There's no really time to think about it.
Yeah. Another common term for that would be run and gun, which people might be more familiar with. So run and gun style videos, guerrilla style videos, very much the same thing.
Now I'm about to go back and just watch some of your early work and just be like, that's what he's talking about.
You'll see. Yeah, definitely. If you go to my page and just search by like oldest to newest, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay, see, people, we have a little homework to do this week. We're going to check that out.
I feel like documentaries can be in guerrilla style as well too, because sometimes there's not necessarily a narrative, especially if you're outside. You're just filming what's available to you. So in certain cases, that could be running gun as well.
Well, now that you mentioned it, documentaries, can you tell us a little bit about your documentary filmmaking and how you kind of is it that you switched over to documentaries or you just expanded to just include other genres of film?
I would say I expanded into other genres of film, not necessarily a full switchover. The first one I did was a Toronto hip hop documentary called The Retour Toronto, heavily inspired by a documentary called The Real Toronto. And what I wanted to do was just interview artists in their neighborhoods and really document them because a lot of times with artists, we see their music, but we don't get to hear their stories. So that was my aim when I was doing that.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then I expanded that into 4 parts. So there's part 2, 3, and 4. And yeah, those were my first documentaries that I had under my belt.
I always tell people I think one of my favorite genres is documentaries, and especially to kind of just see our city reflected in a more honest, authentic viewpoint. Definitely going to give that a watch.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the eyes.
Now, you've directed over, I want to say, a couple hundred music videos with over 20 million views. What have those experiences taught you about storytelling and production?
It has taught me how important they are because in my earlier career, I wasn't that focused on the storytelling and and the pre-production element. But looking back, I definitely see ways that I could have benefited or made my videos better had I gone that route and just took more time into the pre-production element. But I don't believe in regrets. I don't think there's anything I would necessarily have changed, but I am happy that I learned it now, better late than never. So
Mhm.
definitely what it has taught me is that storytelling and visuals, it's less about how good the video looks and more about what you can make your audience feel. So that's what I try and do as of now. When I'm planning my videos and shooting, editing, I'm thinking about what can I make the audience feel? Emotions are important. So yeah, less about the quality and more about how I can make you feel.
I find that a very interesting response because I feel like some people can take that. And if they're not really listening to what you're saying, they're like, okay, so this guy doesn't really care what he does with the quality with people's money. But no, at the end of the day, there's some things where you can watch like Hollywood style videos and you still feel nothing. And you're like, they wasted all this money. They wasted all this promo for what?
Yep. I know what you mean. It's funny. A lot of times when I think about like Hollywood movies with massive budgets, and as we critique, even I do this sometimes too. We're very quick to write it off as, oh, that movie was trash or it was bad, and I'll be thinking about like how much money in the millions was spent on it. So anytime there's a project, if I go a little bit over my budget, and it gets not necessarily the best reviews, I always think about those major Hollywood films that get thousands of people hating on them and critiquing them that have spent insane amounts of funding on it. So yeah, that's something I think about here and there.
I like that perspective. I always tell people doing these kind of like sit down and interviews, it's always great to hear the not so traditional perspective, the not so traditional answer. And this was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
So, what is it that people don't get to necessarily see behind the scenes and the realities of working in media and film? And we touched on this earlier, especially as a Black person in the entertainment landscape within Canada.
Well, one thing that I will say before I get into that, in terms of editing, like the videos that you see, there's so many tiny details that go into the editing that can often get overlooked. In it could be a scene, especially in color grading. I might spend an hour or half an hour just working on one clip, just adjusting the slightest things, the slightest highs and the lows and the whites and the blacks and the saturations that are almost could go unnoticed to the naked eye. Yet I'm spending so much time on it. And when you're watching it as the audience, it just goes by like a flash. So that's one thing. And also when it comes to actually filming, there's scenes, and you may know this as well too. When you're on set, there's scenes that take hours to set up, but when you watch the video, the final video, it's like a split second. One thing that people don't realize how much time and work goes into these scenes, whether it be small, a short clip or a longer clip. In terms of filming or being in this industry as a Black person, I would say things that go unnoticed would maybe be, I feel like the voices are definitely getting elevated now within the last 10 years. But I think I'm grateful to be making films in this generation as opposed to maybe 10 years or 20 years before me, where it would have been a little bit more challenging.
What do you think would have made it more challenging then versus now?
I don't think there was as much grants and fundings for the projects that we wanted to do.
Yeah. I find that interesting because I feel like a lot of people, when we look back to like the media before, and maybe it could be looking back, a lot of the media we're exposed to is a lot of like the American media. So we're like, oh my gosh, they had so much freedom back then. It was a lot of like experimental. But if you kind of look at it from the Canadian perspective, yeah, the grants, the funding, just having the ability to do so, the accessibility wasn't quite there.
Yeah. So as much as, we'd like to say what we like to improve on, I'm definitely grateful for the time that we're in now.
I was having this conversation, not this exact conversation, but having a similar conversation with my boss the other day. And it's like, oh my gosh, like there should be more of this and there should be more of that. And she's like, what we have right now is actually progress. Like just think back to even just a couple years ago or versus when she started in the industry where there was nothing. We definitely have to appreciate what it is that we have now. And then as this next generation coming up, work towards adding more diversity, work towards making it more inclusive and accessible for others. It's time for us to take the torch and move it along.
I agree.
Yeah. And something else that you also brought up in terms of being on set between the end of last year and this year was my first like real experience being on set for a short film and a vertical series. And I don't think I actually realized myself how much of a team it takes to put these things together. And like you said, this whole team for like a 10-minute project. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah. It's funny because I didn't start to get into real production sets with large crews until my brother started making films. And I started working with my brother and Alex, who is a director he works very close with. So those were some of my earlier, not my first experiences, but some of my more frequent and recent experiences where I realized, just like you said, how much people it takes to actually put together a project. So when you see the credits at the end of a film, now it all makes sense. When I would watch these credits, I'm like, what are all these people here for? Like you guys all have like, it's very interesting to see and then experience later on in my career. And it's
Yeah.
also funny because my brother often credits me as the person that got him into acting. Yet me working on his sets and his production with his people and friends was some of my first experiences on real productions.
First of all, I love the fact that it's pretty much like a family thing and you guys are working because you're not an actor, right? You're mostly behind the scenes.
Yeah, definitely. I've never. Well, I do have a very super. I can't even call it an acting role. I'm more like a background character for like maybe who knows how long I'm going to be on screen for. But yeah, I don't have any acting experience like a true actor does.
See, I like the fact that you and your brother have like both in the industry. It's almost like a family affair, but to see each other's side and to be like, okay, let me look into your world, let me look into yours, to credit each other in that way, that's actually really amazing. You don't really get both in one family.
Yeah, it's a cool full circle moment. So I'm looking forward to the collaborations that we have coming up and in the future.
How did your parents take that? I always like this question because it's always a taboo thing, especially like in Black families. We always hear the same thing, and I tell this almost every episode. People want us to be teachers, lawyers, engineers, doctors. But now you are a filmmaker and your brother is now an actor. Were your parents like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Or did they see the vision from early on?
I'm very grateful because I've had nothing but full support from both of my parents from when I started. And like you said, as Black people, a lot of times our parents want us to be doctors, engineers, lawyers, the big three. But yeah, my parents really just wanted me to just shoot for my dreams. They never questioned it once if I should switch career paths at all. They never suggested me doing something different. They were always very supportive from the beginning. So very thankful for that.
The parents are coming through every episode, and I love that it's giving healing. It's giving letting
Yeah.
go of generational thought process and traumas. Parents, you guys are doing well.
And I would hope that our generation of children that come after us, whether it be second generation, third generation, are more open to the ideas of having children pick their own careers. That may not make sense at first, but that's my hope.
I second that. I always tell people, especially when I look at my brothers and their kids, and I just see other kids in general. I'm also doing like a mentorship. And I'm like, I love the fact that people, like you said, kids are allowed to express themselves more. They're becoming more exposed to other career paths and possibilities, whether it's arts or sports or not the big three. And even like in mentorship, it's showing these people like these careers are possible. It might not be the traditional way that you thought it's going to happen, or it's not going to be all glitz and glamour, but there are paths out there that you should be open to exploring. Not everybody needs to be an actor. Not everybody needs to be a writer. Maybe you can be a publicist. Maybe you can be an editor. Maybe you can be a set designer. There's so many avenues out there that I think just working in the industry the last couple of years have opened my eyes to. And I'm like, people need to know about this.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, I want to go back just a little bit in terms of your music videos and documentary filmmaking. Creatively, how do you approach these two formats differently and what drew you to each?
Yeah, so there's definitely a different approach with each. Music videos, I'm able to have a little bit more fun on the creative side. Documentaries have to have a little bit more of a serious tone. You could still have documentaries that have funny elements, of course, but I feel like music videos I'm allowed to do more with my creativity. And then documentaries, my approach is really just to tell a story that makes sense from start to finish. Music videos, I'm really trying to make the visuals look their best. A lot of times I'll work with the artists. So with music videos, I want to hear their vision for it, and then I'll give my approach to it. Sometimes we come into the middle. Sometimes I just work completely off they want. Sometimes they give me full creative control. So that's how it usually works for me with music videos. Documentaries, if it's something that is my personal project and I have full creative control, that's great. But if I'm working on a client's documentary, then I really just want to know the story and learn more about how they want it to be told. I always love, whether it's a music video or documentary, I always ask if they have references. So that helps me a lot too. References are a great help for me.
Now, if you had to record a music video tomorrow and they told you, okay, pick whatever style, any inspiration, what would those music videos be? Your top three favorite music videos?
It would depend on the song, really. And also the style of the song, how fast, how slow it is, the
Hmm.
genre. So those things would definitely play a factor on to the type of video I'd want to be. But if I could just say something idealistically, I really like green screen videos. I like incorporating that. So I would try and do something more on that side. Or even as of lately, I've been really into stop motion. So I would probably pitch the idea of a stop motion music video.
Okay, that's interesting. Just the experimental of it all and not always going the traditional route, as we've talked about. So that would be really interesting to see. So, if anyone's out there, we got your next music video right here.
Yeah. I'm surprised I forgot to mention stop motion as I was doing my little introduction, because that's something, one of my long term goals is to create a stop motion feature film. I've done a couple music videos. One of them took 6 months to make. And yeah, even though it's very tedious, I love the finished result. I love the the process that goes into creating all the characters and this world from scratch, just with raw materials. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the challenge of creating and building the world of a feature film.
Okay, going back to stop motion now, are you actually like finding these material and you're literally building everything like brick by brick, your own hands?
Well, if it's claymation, claymation is a subgenre of stop motion,
Hmm.
then most of the world or most of your characters are made from clay. When it comes to the buildings and the things in the background, a lot of times I've used cardboard, a tin foil. Sometimes I'll get like a Bristol paper and I'll paint the backdrops, but the characters will be made out of clay, generally speaking. Yeah,
Interesting.
everything from scratch.
Well, that's so much creativity where I'm like, I don't know if I actually have the kind of patience and talent for
Yeah,
6 months and to build like every single movement.
every movement. Yeah, but funny enough, it's the world building that took the 6 months. The actual filming and the photography was probably, I want to say, like 2 to 3 weeks. So a lot of people think that the filming is what takes up most of the time. When from my experience, it was really just crafting all these worlds and these structures and the environment.
Okay, we definitely need to talk off camera more about that because I definitely want to see what that looks like.
Yeah, for sure. I could talk so much about, even on camera, I could talk so much about that one claymation project that took 6 months. But yeah, well, we'll
Well, I
definitely talk.
mean, we could dive a little deeper if you have the time. Tell us a bit more.
Yeah. So I think one of the reasons why it took 6 months, looking back, I feel like I could have done it in less time,
Mhm.
because a lot of the buildings I was making, I was painting and building all three sides. But when it came down to actually filming, or sorry, when I say all three sides, that's like an example of a building that was like shaped like a triangle. But when I was filming from the angle, a lot of times it would just only show one side. So I'm realizing, wow, we were putting so much detail and so much time into painting the back and the sides of the building, but when it came to filming it, it only showed the one side. So had I planned out the storyboard and the shot list a little bit better, I feel like I could have shaved off a little bit of time that it took me. And yeah, but even though the claymation video that I'm referencing to, it's called Stolen Goods. It's by Ras Fresco. And yeah, I gotta send you a video about a behind the scenes that I did with it. It was pretty cool.
Absolutely. Definitely send it. We can share it when we upload the blog so people can actually see like this work in motion and kind of put the visual to your words. Cause I feel like this is not something I see common unless I'm not searching for it. I don't know. It could be a common thing. I really could just be clueless. Or it really could be you're introducing us to the next just wave of art form.
Yeah. The art form of stop motion is not new by any means, but in terms of the space that I'm in, especially in Toronto, it is definitely more on the rare side. You don't see that too often.
Okay. Come on, Trailblazer.
Yeah.
We love this for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, you have to navigate both building a business and a brand while continuing to invest in your personal creative voice. How do you not get lost on one side versus the other?
I feel like there's a lot of similarities between me building the brand and my creative voice. I feel like a lot of the ideas of the brand came from what I wanted to express as my creative voice. So, and it's funny because a lot of times, even till this day, I still struggle with trying to figure out how to brand myself, whether I'm branding myself as a person, as in I am MWorks, or MWorks is a company. Because when I have larger shoots, I have a team that I still work with, from that I started off with, and I still work with very closely till this day. But there's also projects that I could take on with just one or two people. But yeah, really just trying to figure out how I want to brand myself. Till this day, I still think about how I want to approach it. So to answer your question, balancing and moving between my creative voice, and then also the brand, I feel like they're one and the same, and I'm still trying to just figure everything out myself.
When it comes to branding yourself, is it that you don't want to be as face forward and you want everything to just be the brand? Because I feel like that's something that people also battle with a lot when it's just like, okay, I just want the company out there, give it all the shine. I can work behind the scenes. You don't need to know me. Are you actually actively trying to put yourself out there some more?
In terms of like putting my face out there, if that's what you mean, I haven't had
Mhm.
a problem with that. I feel like in the earlier careers, maybe like the first 7, 8 years, I didn't have any pictures of myself. But now, when I uh, introduce myself to people publicly, I introduce myself as MWorks. So yeah, yeah. Does that answer the question, or is there a way I could kind of expand on that?
No, it actually does, and I like the fact that you kind of build even how you introduce yourself, because I feel like even when first coming across you at the workshop, it's like, "What is this man's name?" I'm like, "Do I wanna call him M Works?" I'm like,
Yeah,
"Wait, did I hear that right?" But I
yeah,
actually like how you're weaving the 2 of them in together. No one can ever forget that.
yeah. Exactly. And even when people like see me in person, they're like, I didn't know if MWorks was one person or a team. And it's like it's kind of both, I guess. But yeah, 13 years in and I'm still trying to figure it out myself.
I feel like there's never gonna be a right or wrong answer, and I don't think it's something that you can force, but something that will happen naturally, like, that day will just come and be like, "Oh, this sticks." Now, as someone who directs, edits, and produce, what does your creative process usually look like? So we talked a little bit about the editing, you talked about the guerrilla style, but just kind of like that day to day, step by step.
Step by step. Well, let's say a music video for say, or as an example. Now, 2026, I definitely like to have a shot list and the proper pre-production ready before I film. So I like to use something that I could collaborate on, such as Google Docs, very popular one that I recommend to those that don't use it. So me and the client are able to both add our notes into one document. So that would be the production side. I like to grab references from the internet and just throw images and screenshots into there, so we have an idea of how we're trying to shape this video. When it comes down to actually filming, I'm very big on the golden hour and just like taking advantage of the lighting. That's using the example that we're filming outside. I'm always rushing people when it comes down to like the sunset, because the sun goes so fast, and I'm always like, yo, we gotta hurry up, we gotta get this shot. So yeah, really taking advantage of the light um when we're actually on set for outdoor shots. When it comes down to editing, I like to layer my clips, put them all together. Then I will do the color grading, and then I will put in some overlays, and then I will do my titling and the credits on that video. And then I'll do subtle things such as like adding contrast, even though contrast is part of the color grading step. Certain things like adding a little bit more contrast, some sharpening, some other miscellaneous, very tiny things, as I was mentioning earlier, just very super subtle things that could take me hours to do, but could be almost like not noticeable from watching it. But yeah, that's pretty much my process.
I think one of the things you mentioned too, and I was thinking about that earlier, is the tiny details that nobody notices, but we as the creative notice. Because I also look at that when doing photography, and it's just like that, just going that one extra notch, and be like, "Oh no, that's too much." I'd be like, "I'm taking back your pictures," and be like, "What?" And I'm like, "You don't see it, but I do, and now it's bothering me."
Exactly. Even like with editing little small videos on my phone or photos on my phone, same thing. Just like really, really tiny adjustments that you may not notice, but for me, it's like, okay, yeah, it's like a lot better than what it was.
In terms of the team, is it that you work with the same people every time? Do you try to, I guess, switch it up? Do you have people that you call for certain projects?
So one thing that has been true for my career, my good friend Chris Kahn has been my creative director from the start. He's worked on every single documentary that I've worked on, the stop motion projects. It was just me and him for the 6 months. Yeah, he's added a lot into the business. But now when it comes to just like working with a large team, I definitely have people that I could call. And I have a lot of people that are in my circle behind the scenes helping on that. So yeah. And the team is it's forever growing too. I'm always meeting new people that I'm able to bring on whether it be temporarily for one project or whether it be for a few projects. Yeah. But shout out my boy Chris Khan. I do. I always got to shout him out. You know, he's been there from the start, even before video production. We're like childhood friends, so I'm happy to have him on my team.
Well, that's amazing. A real day one. And I love when people can actually look back and that you have these people that you grow with. Obviously, it's great to meet people along the way, but I think there's nothing like having at least that one person who knew you from pretty much the very beginning. As like you guys are able to grow together, you understand each other very well. So that's good that you have someone like that in your corner.
Yeah, definitely very grateful for that.
Now, you spent a lot of time mentoring emerging filmmakers. Like I said, that's really my first introduction to you. Why is creating opportunities for others so important for you and not expanding, but sharing that knowledge with others?
I feel like it's really me giving back because even how I came up, I've done internships and mentorships, and I just remember being in that position, just um, being grateful for the opportunity to learn from professionals. You know, I didn't really care how many hours I had to work or what I was doing. I was just very, very appreciative of being in an environment where I could learn film and learn the editing side of it. So me doing mentorships now is one about giving back, and two realizing that it is the starting in terms of expansion. I'm able to do blessed enough to do mentorships at libraries, but I would definitely like to create a facility and like a space, a permanent space that will I'll be able to have access to full time. So mentorships is really just one of the steps towards one of my long term goals, which is opening up like a facility. And also, I feel like mentorships is one of the best ways to learn, you know, for the youth. And I'm all about giving back too.
If there was a youth listening right now, what would be like your action steps for them? And I also want to know your perspective on volunteering versus like paid work. Cause I feel like there's always such a stigma around volunteer working for free, earning experience, and people don't really understand the value of that sometimes.
Okay. So the first one would be a message to the youth trying to get into filmmaking, like a specific side of filmmaking or just in general.
Just in general, just kind of filmmaking, breaking into the industry. What would you advise? How would you advise them?
I would definitely say if you're trying to get into filmmaking, learn skills outside of filmmaking that could help you within filmmaking. So for me, for example, I have no passion or interest in graphic design, but I had to learn that. I had to learn Photoshop, even though till this day I absolutely hate that program. I had to learn it because I needed to incorporate it to make me a better filmmaker overall. The same with sound design. I have no interest in being a engineer or mixing and playing with sounds, but I had to learn these programs and I had to learn the science behind it to incorporate it and make my workflow better. So definitely learning skills that could help amplify what you're doing is great on your resume and just really helps makes you more valuable to the team and even to yourself as well too. And then in terms of my perspective on volunteering versus paid work, I've done a lot of volunteering work in my days and I still do because I see the opportunities that it could get me. I've had places where I volunteered that ended up in paid work, you know, for years to come, all because I just put in the volunteer work then. And the networking that comes out of it is very valuable too. So, me personally, I would definitely recommend volunteering towards people that are just starting off to get your foot in the door. And I could vividly remember the times when I was doing my internships and my mentorships. I wasn't getting paid and I didn't have a problem with it. I was happy just to be in the door. But that's my perspective. You know, some may come into the game with a perspective where like you just want to, you know, see the compensation for your work. And there's nothing wrong with that. Me personally, vividly remember how I was feeling and I was happy to just to be able to work in the position that I'm in now or in the field that I'm in now.
I like that. I think that's something that I feel like people need to really start considering again more because I feel like lately there's always just been this conversation online about, people taking advantage. I'm not working for free. And it's like, that's kind of the same way I started too, where it's like, okay, I want to get my foot into the door. And I got my foot in the door through social media and then through starting to do just a little photography just to kind of, get your feet wet. Is this something that I like to do, not like to do? And that's how I expanded into a career in communications. It's just like sometimes doing that free work, obviously, you have to have your boundaries if it's a certain amount of time, the capacity, but it's just such a great entry point. And like you said, it could lead definitely to paid opportunities. It could lead to kind of having this relationship and commitment that people see like, oh, you've been committed to me. I'm going to make sure that you are the first person I think about when this opportunity arises and we're actually able to pay you or to add you to my team. And people don't always look, they don't look at the long run of things. They don't look at the longevity. They kind of just focus on the now. And it's kind of sad that that's the way our mentality has gone to. It's like it's very short. It's very, if it's not now, it's never happening.
Yeah, I agree. It's all about perspective, but I feel like no matter which way you look at it, eventually you'll figure it out years to come, the value of doing volunteering and internships and mentorship program.
I also like the fact that you talked about learning skills that you might not necessarily want to learn, but it's good to have. And I laugh at that because I'm like, that was me, even with photography. Me in Photoshop, I'm like, what do I need that gets the job done? When it was doing social media, I'd be like, okay, I'm managing, but now people are asking me to create graphics. All right. Now we got to learn Canva. We have to learn how to do these kind of illustrations on Adobe. So definitely if it's either a YouTube video in these day and age, a little TikTok video, we didn't have that back in the day. But if we can do a little TikTok, a little YouTube, a little online certificate, anything to continue expanding because this is an industry that's always changing. It never sleeps, and you have to be able to keep up with the trending topics, the trending work. You have to be able to be marketable.
Yeah, Canva is another great example. Like, I don't have any passion for digital design, but platforms like Canva, I had to learn,
Yep.
in order to make my storyboards better. For an example, even now, like coding, I need to get more into that. Although I don't have any interest for it, I know that it could make me better as an entrepreneur and more efficient with my workflow.
See, and I think people need to give us credit. We're still trying to do these things by hand. Like, AI's been great. AI is a good, like, helper, but definitely still try to learn these things for yourself because there's nothing better than having that actual raw knowledge and be able to do these things manually.
Exactly. Yep, I
Yeah.
agree.
Now, there's something else I want to touch on, and it's in regards to funding. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but funding is a constant topic of conversation in the film industry right now. And what realities do emerging filmmakers need to understand about funding, sustainability, and creating work independently in today's landscape?
I think in terms of funding, you really have to search for it. You're not always just going to open your phone and see every single funding opportunity just scrolling on whatever social media platform you use. Once you start looking at, from my experience, once you start looking at one or two different grants, a lot of times I'll start getting grants, advertisements on my phone. But that's not the only thing that I would recommend you rely on, like just scrolling to find. You really have to do some deep research. And yeah, also, when it comes to applying them, don't get discouraged if you don't land anything on the first five or even the first 10. There's websites where you could look at successful pitch decks that have landed funding. I can't remember the website off the top of my head, but that's a great reference because you could model your own pitch deck and your own grants after the ones that have successfully landed funding. So yeah, really just being persistent and not to get discouraged and just search, whether you're using Google, whether you're using one of the AI platforms to search for these grants. Try different search terms. You just got to really work on it every day and you'll make something happen for you.
One thing I've now been exposed to a lot is the grants, and I have to give people credit for writing these grants and seeing just how much information that you have to have ready for them. I think some of the platforms to keep in mind, the top 2 at the top of my head I can recommend, the Canada Media Fund, Ontario Creates. You wanna look for these grants and funding that are not only nationwide, but also specific to your province and to the type of projects that you're trying to get funding for.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny for me to speak on what I would recommend for grants because I've never successfully landed a grant in my career, but that would be my advice. And I guess I'm shaping my opinion off of peers of mine that have landed grants. So I'm just taking what I've learned from them and their thoughts and their experiences and then telling you and telling the audience here.
I think that's important as well. It's always good to take from other people's experience. I always tell people, one, take from those who came before you, take from those who have failed, but also those who have succeeded, because everyone has a lesson, everyone has a story and a path, and those things can help you. You know what to do, what not to do. You know of the progress that is being made. You know what needs to happen and what needs to change. So it's always good to just kind of take different elements from different people, know what to digest, and know what to kind of put away to the side.
Yeah, that's a great mantra that you actually just mentioned, learning from those that have failed and then learning from those that have succeeded.
Now, my last question for you. At the core of everything you do in media, what do you hope people take away from your work?
I hope that people take away how consistent I was, with this interview being me on my 13th year of my career. I hope people see that I never took any breaks. Like if you were to track me from year 1 to year 13, it's not like I was working for a few years and then took a little bit of a hiatus and then continued back. And I'm counting all of that as 13 years in the industry. I didn't take any breaks throughout all of those years. Looking at it from the inside, yeah, I don't think if I wasn't away from my computer, like out of the city or away from home, there was never a week where I was not working on something related to my business. So yeah, I've always been just very, very consistent. And I would like for people to take that away at the end of when it's all said and done. I
Yeah.
never stopped.
No, that's good. I feel like that's even something I struggled with, like on and off for the last couple of years. So I'm glad when people kind of remind us about consistency really does pay off. And even if you don't see the results right away, it will come through again, the consistency and the hard work, the dedication.
Exactly. And with me, I guess it's from the outside looking in. You may try and track my progress or track my consistency through my YouTube page that I promote. But there's been times when I wasn't uploading for months, but that doesn't necessarily mean I wasn't working because from with the last, I would say 5, 6, 7 years, majority of my work has been going on the client's individual pages. But that's just talking about music videos, which is one small part of what I do. But
Mhm.
yeah, if someone were to only track it just based off YouTube metrics, they may be like, okay, yeah, he took a huge break, no, but there's just so much more that I've been working on outside of the YouTube platform. Yeah, I never stopped from all 13 years till now.
No, that's amazing. You definitely dropped some really great gems that I'm hoping that after listening to this episode, people make their notes and they kind of know, okay, what's going to be my next steps, especially like we said, being in the Canadian media landscape, being people of color, being a man in this industry.
I'm thankful or I'm happy that you said that. That's kind of what I wanted to do. So I'm always hoping that I could have something that the audience can relate or learn from. So yeah, happy to know.
Absolutely. And just before we hop off, I definitely want you to just kind of tell us your socials again. Let people know how they can also submit a film to your festival and how they can come out and support.
Yeah. So my personal page, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Well, for Instagram and TikTok, it's mworks underscore. For YouTube, if you search M space works, that should be the top result, which you'll see most of my videos and you'll see the mworks logo. In terms of the film festival, the socials for that is mworks film festival or mworks festival, depending on which platform you use. And for submitting films, you can submit it to mworksfilmfestival@gmail.com. Or if that's a little bit harder to come across, you could always send me a message directly on my personal accounts and I could accept the submission the same way.
And then just in case people are wondering, is it short films and feature films? What kind are you looking for?
At the moment, short films, I'm looking at or shorts that are under 25 minutes, maybe even under 20 minutes. I can't do feature films at the moment because I need to have a time for everyone to be able to play their work. So if I have two feature films, it's like I'll only be able to play two in total. So at the moment, where the film festival is now, we're only doing short films. But I do like that idea. In the future, hopefully, I could get some feature films in and have more of a time block.
That's great. I feel like especially a lot of people, they usually kind of start off with short films. So that's great that you want to give people a platform and that you are actually prioritizing making sure that their work is seen and given an audience.
Thank you. Yeah. But yes, September 9th, 2026, the fourth annual M Works Film Festival. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, I got some real cool announcements for everyone. So yeah, it's gonna be good.
Perfect. I'm going to have all the social links down below in the description box. Make sure you follow on Instagram and everywhere that Matt has listed today. Matt, thank you so much for joining me today. It was an absolute pleasure and honor.
Thank you, Natalie. I appreciate you having me on. From when you pitched the idea to me, I was like, yeah, no hesitation. I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
That's the reaction I need from everybody. People, take note. Make sure you tune into Noir Media. You can follow the podcast on all platforms at Noir Media. Very straightforward and simple. Check out the website, noirinmedia.com, for all episodes and blog posts. You can also follow me on socials at Natalie Nadeen across all platforms. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Peace.